Hello, everyone. Good morning, good evening. Welcome to another PMI PMP Q&A session. Today, we will be discussing decision making. And we have a good news. Today, Chinamis, who was with you throughout, he attended all the sessions and he passed PMP exam with above target. Yeah.
Sorry, I was so happy when I saw that. I was like, oh, yes.
Yes. So he was telling me these questions really help him while answering real exam questions, because the understanding he got from these sessions, that was exactly what is required to pass the exam. Type of question was almost similar. He was saying these questions are slightly difficult, like 1920 or 1890, right? But if you practice these questions, then it would be easier for you to pass the exam. All right. Our today's topic is decision making. Very important topic from exam. Let's start. Question number 1. All right. Richard, you have chosen option B. Why?
To be honest, I have no idea what Cinefin framework is. So I just went with kind of a PMIism and went for analyzing the situation first. B, C, and D all seem viable to me, but I just I felt that B was safe. Felt C was, like I said, it was a flip of a coin for this one because I did not understand what the actual framework was. So I did not have a basis of knowledge to go off of. So this was a complete guess.
Thank you. Okay, Manmeet, you have chosen option D.
The only reason why I choose option D, because it's an urgent crisis and we need to have a sudden decision, a quick decision. And I believe the safety of the attendees and because if there's a panic, a project manager should not be panic itself. Yes, we can be panic, but we have to stabilize the situation, act maturely, and make sure the safety of attendees is there. So this is the only reason why I picked D. As a leader, I should be.
What's wrong with option B, Manmeet?
Like assessing the facts, yes, okay, situation, but where is the solution for this? Solution is to have the safety of the attendees, right? That's why I did not go with B and C.
All right.
It was not giving me exact solution.
All right.
That's why.
You, Rahul, you have chosen option D.
Yeah, I was going to choose option B first, but then I read the second part of option D, which is safety of attendees, which meant and I think I remember once you explaining like if there are people involved, I think the most important thing is human safety kind of thing. So that's what made me select that.
Absolutely correct. So whenever there is an emergency situation and whenever human factor is involved, pure risk is involved. What is pure risk? Pure risk is a risk to human life. So what we do, we take immediate action and we try to find a workaround to handle the situation. And I have intentionally referred to Cynefin model here. So Cynefin framework is presented in PMBOK Guide 7th edition. But even if you don't understand Cynefin model, still you're able to answer the question, as most of you have answered correctly. So correct answer is option D, act immediately and find a workaround, find a solution regarding safety of the people involved. So just to help you understand what is Cynefin model is, so according to Cynefin model, I hope you could see whatever I'm writing. So according to this framework is used for cause and effect analysis that is helpful in decision making, right? So according to this framework, there are 5 different situations and you have to act differently in 5 different situations. So for example, first of all is if you have obvious cause and effect, if cause and effect is known, then what you need to do, you just need to apply best practices. So the solution is best practices. That is level 1. Second is cause is known, effect is unknown. So you know the cause, but effect is unknown. In this situation, you analyze, right? You talk about facts and you apply good practices. So analyze the unknown. What could be the possible unknown? Level 3 is unknown unknown. We call it complex, right? This is called complicated situation. Level 2 is complicated. Level 3 is complex situation. When cause is unknown and effect is unknown. If this is the situation, then again, do the thorough analysis. Probe the situation, right? And respond accordingly. Level 4, that is called chaotic environment. So chaotic environment is when cause and effect are unknown and there is a lot of uncertainty and confusion and panic. If this is the situation, what you do is the very first action that you take is you try to stabilize the situation. Try to stabilize the situation. Take immediate action and then go for further analysis and long-term solution. And then we have level 5. Sorry, not able to write. Okay, so level 5 is disordered relationships. Disordered relationships where there is lack of clarity, right? Where there is something new which is happening for the first time, emergency situation, right? So what you need to do, you break down the problem into different subsection and then handle one by one. So it's a combination of problems. When multiple factors come into play and the situation is really complex, then you need to break it down. And how do you break it down? You handle the situation that require immediate attention and you handle the situation that require detailed solution or workaround. If we look at this question, it is about, it says severe weather warning predicting a powerful storm. So this creates a chaotic environment. It's clearly written, it's chaotic environment. So if it is chaotic environment is level 4. And what we do in level 4, if we see, we stabilize the situation. So this is I'm talking about in reference to Cynefin model. But even if you don't understand that, still you are able to find the answer. So correct answer is act immediately to stabilize the situation and ensure safety of attendance. If you see this question in the exam, reference to Kniven model, take care of 5 different uh, level of problems. One is obvious cause and effect. Second is known, unknown. Third is unknown, unknown. Fourth is unknown, unknown with a lot of confusion. And fifth is combination of cause and effect, where you deal the problem in chunks. You break it down into smaller problems and then handle one by one. And accordingly, there are 5 different strategies to solve the problem. So correct answer is option D. Let's read the explanation. All right, I hope it is clear. Let's move to the next question. All right. Marta, you have chosen option A.
It was a best guess, Amar.
Okay.
I excluded the other ones.
How did you
But
exclude the other ones?
because the focus groups generally are more based on knowledge and experience.
Mhm.
The nominal groups are more focused on I think clear objectives. And then the group think, I thought it was more around brainstormings. So that's why I chose group shift.
Okay, right. Thank you. Rahul, you have chosen option A. Why?
I think I just made a guess, honestly, because I just saw there was a shift in the decision. The question talks about initially, I think they had decided something else, and at the end, there was a unanimous decision. So that's what made me,
All right.
choose that.
So you're saying there is a shift in the opinion of team members as a result of presence of other team member or being in group. That's why it is group shift. Okay, right? Fair enough. All right. Mohan, you have chosen option B.
Yeah, I kind of, kind of invalidated some of the other options to come to the option B.
Mhm.
Group shift to me is just the opposite of what is in the question, right? Focus group is more on, driving. It's a survey where you are, you have a focus group and you're trying to get information out of. A nominal group is more like a technique where you're trying to facilitate discussion to come to a solution, right? And that's how I kind of came with the group think. And I'm not sure B if group think is actually an actual term, but I kind of eliminated the other three.
Okay. Nominal group is a form of brainstorming. A structured form of brainstorming is called nominal group. So just for your understanding, if you see this option in the exam. So nominal group, it's a form of understanding. Focus group, when you invite subject matter experts and key stakeholders to talk about your product or any specific topic. Now, groupthink versus group shift. Groupthink is a phenomena in which you don't express your opinion or difference of opinion just to maintain the group harmony, right? To make sure that you act as a unit. So although you have a different opinion, but you don't express that. So as a result of group dynamics, whatever the overall understanding of the group is, you agree with that. But here in this question, what's happening, as Rahul mentioned, initially individual team members, they have mild opinion about certain topic. But as a result of when they see support from other team members, they move to extreme. So this is a shift in their thinking, in their opinion, right? Initially, they have a very mild opinion about something. Now it's more conservative because of group dynamics. This is called group shift. When opinions change because of the group dynamics, that is called group shift. When you don't express your opinion just because of the group to maintain harmony and unity, to act as a single unit, that is called groupthink. So you can see both the option in the exam. And one of the ideas of decision making or the right decision making approach is to minimize group shift and groupthink, right? And how we can do that, there are different ways of doing that. For example, you can ask individual opinions first, right? You can do surveys, you can conduct interviews, right? So there are different ways in which we can avoid. So for example, if you recall, we talked about Delphi. What is Delphi? Delphi is a form of anonymous survey. And one of the reasons of Delphi or anonymous survey is to minimize group bias, to make sure that people are not influenced by others, right? So that's why we use anonymous surveys. Planning poker is also an example of minimize biases, minimize group influence. So correct answer is group shift, right? Let's read the explanation. All right, I hope it is clear, right? Let's move to the next question. All right. Mohan, you have chosen option D.
Yeah. So I think I guess I was trying to pick what is the best first step to address the situation, right? And I think between B, which is review the project charter, delegate all. So A is delegate all technical decision-making authorities to the most experienced. I eliminated that out because delegation and the piece of having a decision-making authority, the most experienced team member doesn't flow well. Review the project charter to determine the appropriate decision-making authority. I kind of eliminated it based on that because charter doesn't give you the decision-making governance. And C is facilitating a team meeting. So between C and D, and the fact that they're asking what is the best first step to address the situation, I thought D should be done first to kind of understand what the issue is, meet with the team and understand what the concern is, right? And then C would essentially be like the next step after D.
All right.
To facilitate a team meeting to discuss the process.
So you're saying first action is D, then you can do C, right? If you need it. Okay, right. Fair enough. Okay. So Francis, what's wrong with Mohan's explanation?
I don't know if there's anything wrong. It's just in my way of understanding this question. Because we're doing with cross-section teams, we have people who have expertise across all these, across different, departments in this team. That's why I chose option A. Thereby, actually, a project manager can say, okay, if you need help, making this decision, you can refer to the most experienced person, because it says there have been small technical issues which are slowing down the productivity. Or so I realized, because they're just like minor issues, you don't have to hold all these individual meetings with everybody or discussing or the brainstorming or anything. I think we can just go ahead and they get like the most experienced people across the teams.
So you delegate all decision-making authority to one person, right?
Yes.
Okay, right. Okay, then what is the difference? It means before that you were, responsible for making all the decision, and now again another one person is doing. So what's the difference? Do you see any difference in the situation? First it was PM, single person. Now again there is one person that is dealing with all the issues and problems and technical decisions. So again you will see the same problem, no?
No, this.
Okay. Right. Richard, you have chosen option C. First, explain what's wrong with A and D.
So A, I eliminated that because it's just you're just putting the ball in somebody else's court. It doesn't address the issue. It says that even team members are coming with even minor technical problems. The reason why I kind of moved away from D is because it would take too much time. You're already behind schedule. So I felt that the best thing to do would to just sit everybody down and discuss the way that things are right now and explain, like, even the smallest things you're wanting clarification on. These are the things that have to be, we are empowering you as a self-motivated team to be able to make those decisions yourselves. So how can we, and then just sit along and brainstorm, how can you validate that the decision you're making is the right one? And that's where I kind of landed on with C.
All right, thank you. Okay, so the problem with option A is that, as I discussed earlier, it's the same thing. It's not solving the problem, right? First, you were the responsible, and now again, you are delegating everything to one person. we don't delegate everything to one person, right? We discuss the situation, we understand the situation, and we delegate authority at different levels. So for something, sponsor is responsible. For others, project manager is responsible. And there are various things for which team members are responsible. Okay. So it's not like that we delegate 100% or the authority for the all decisions to one person. That's not the best practice. We don't do that. We delegate authority relevant to skill set of the team member, relevant to their expertise, so that, rather than they are dependent on single individual to make things efficient, they can make their decision according to their expertise. So we delegate authority at different levels. Delegating the authority to one individual is not the best practice. So A is not an answer, right? And this is not solving the problem. It's exactly the same situation. First PM was responsible, now one person again. So it's the same thing. Option B, review the project charter to determine the appropriate decision-making authority for different types of issues. Yes, project charter defines authority level, authority of sponsor and authority of PM, but that is high level authority. That is not authority for each decision making, like who will be within the team member who will be making the decision, because at that time you don't have team, right? You form team later. So it has high level decision making authority. So option B is incorrect. The problem with option D is that hold individual meeting with each team member. Remember, interviews, we go with interviews when we need confidential information. Remember, whenever there is a conflict, whenever there is a dispute that you cannot discuss in the presence of everyone, right? You have one-on-one discussion, or whenever you need to discuss something with key stakeholders, right? Important information, key stakeholders, you conduct one-on-one meeting. You understand? We don't conduct one-on-one meeting for day-to-day routine decisions, right? It's not efficient. And as I think Richard mentioned, it's time consuming and we need expertise from all the team members. It's not something that requires confidentiality or you cannot discuss among team members. You can sit together and you can discuss among each other, right? It's very simple question, very easy question, but most of you got confused in it, right? So you can expect simple question as well in the exam. You'll see a lot of question in the exam in which the answer would be involve the team, reach consensus, discuss with the team member, understand the situation. So correct answer is facilitate a team meeting to discuss the current decision-making process and brainstorm solutions, right? All other options are incorrect. Only option C is correct, right? I hope you understand. Be mindful when you see interviews as an option. Yes, we do interviews when we need confidential information or when we need to talk to key stakeholders, right? For information elicitation or data gathering. Correct answer is option C. Let's move to the explanation.
Amar, on this this could be for either waterfall or agile, right? But in agile, it's quite clear, like the team is empowered, right?
Yeah, even it is agile or even it is waterfall, right? You involve team member. As Sri mentioned, it's all about involving the team, right? And it's better to involve team to make a better decision, right? Rather than making decision by yourself or by certain members. So sit together, discuss the issue, brainstorm, right? Come up with more ideas and then find the right solution. So regardless of the approach, whether it is waterfall or agile, you need to involve team member, right? So this is not about agile or waterfall. This is about team involvement, and we do involve team in waterfall and agile.
Got it. Thank you.
All right, let's move to the next question. This is probably the easiest question, okay? So those who have answered incorrectly, it means you overthink. So this is one of the problems. I have seen students, they don't perform well in the exam just because of overthinking. That's why I'm intentionally including some easy questions so that you don't get confused in the exam. Expect such question in the exam. And when you see meeting, this is what I'm explaining and mentioning again and again. Whenever you see meeting, whenever you see collaboration, whenever you see consensus, right? So do not ignore that option. There are higher chances that that option is correct because whenever team involvement, consensus, discussion, dialogue is there, that is a powerful option. So please pay attention. Try to use elimination technique if you can eliminate other, as we did in the previous this question, and then find the right answer. Do not ignore an option just because it looks easier. And you might have noticed in the previous session as well, there were a couple of questions which were very simple and easy, and people answered incorrectly by thinking maybe these are easier, so these are not the right answer. So don't do that, right? Assess each question on merit and, as I mentioned, from practical perspective. What is good from practical perspective? Look at things from practical perspective. Put yourself in the shoes of team members and project management. Like if you were there, how you have been handling the situation. That would really help you solve the question or to find the right answer. Let's move to the next question. All right. Rahul, you have chosen option C.
Sure on this. As question mentions about there is time crunch. So I mean that just made me think, okay, just go for the majority. So
Okay. So if it is time crunch, how it is relevant to majority? How majority decision would help you, handle the time crunch? What's the relevance?
sure on this.
Okay. Thank you for the response. Okay. Mary, you have chosen option A.
Yes, I was between A and D. So A, because it asks for immediate decision. Is it required to comply with sudden stringent environment regulations?
Okay.
That's why A. But then gathering everyone's input in a timely manner is logistically impossible. Maybe then option D with plurality, that maybe it can be just people that working with him in the same time zone.
All right. But do you know what is plurality? Anyone, please? What is plurality?
Like a lot of people, right? Plurality, majority means a lot, everybody, isn't it?
Okay. A lot of people is plurality. Good.
Yeah. Well, it can be 30%, isn't it, or 20%?
Okay. 30% or 20%. Okay. Let me explain.
And that means maybe in his time zone he has some people like we now.
Okay, not really. So let me just explain what's the difference. So best form of decision making or voting is unanimity, right? Unanimity is when 100% of the participants are in favor of a decision. So that is unanimity, 100%. So for example, let's see we vote right now. Let's have a session tomorrow. And if we all say 17 people or whoever is is the participant, everyone says, yes, this is unanimity. Okay. All the participants, all the team members, all the relevant individuals, if they say yes, that is unanimity. Then comes majority. Majority is when more than 50% participants say yes. So for example, if we are 20, if 11 people say yes, that is called majority. If 9 people say yes, that is not majority, more than 50%. You understand? Out of 100, if 51 opt for an option, that is majority. Then comes plurality. Plurality means option chosen by the largest block. So it doesn't mean you're just talking to people who are in your time zone. You're talking to everybody. And let's suppose 40% of people, they choose option A. So for example, we have an option, okay, should we have class tomorrow, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, or Friday? 40% say Tuesday. 30% they say Wednesday. 20% say Thursday. And 10% say, no, we should have Friday. So we will be choosing this one, option that is chosen by the largest group. That is plurality. You understand? So everybody is participating. Here, we don't have unanimity. We don't have majority. We don't have, why don't we don't have majority? Because we don't have 50%, more than 50%. So this is called plurality. Last one is autocracy. Autocracy is when a single individual, PM, makes decision on behalf of team, right? Now, why we have this question here? Because whenever you see such situation when there is a time crunch and there is an emergency and you need immediate compliance, right? And it is difficult to get all the team together, autocracy is the best choice, right? A single individual PM can make decision on behalf of team in emergency situation. As you could see, it says, comply with sudden, stringent environmental regulation. So there is an environmental regulation. You need a sudden compliance. Project deadline is tight, and failing to act quickly could result in severe penalties and project delays. Given the large, diverse project team spread across multiple time zones, gathering everyone's input in a timely manner is logistically impossible. If it is difficult to get information from everyone, then unanimity is not possible, because for this you need information from everybody. Majority is not possible, you need information from everybody. Plurality is not possible, you need participation of everyone, right? So correct answer is autocracy, right? Remember, the best form of decision making or voting is unanimity. If you're not able to reach a unanimous decision, then majority. If not majority, then plurality. If not plurality, then autocracy. And specifically when you need immediate compliance, when there is an emergency situation, when collecting input from relevant team member is logistically not possible, we go with autocracy or directing. And if you recall, we discussed this concept in detail during the forming stage. What is the preferred leadership style? Directing. And when leadership style is directing, decisions are made by PM, that is called autocracy. So we can make decision this way if situation requires. So correct answer is option A. Let's read the explanation. So last 2-3 lines are important. While autocracy may not always be the preferred approach, in a collaborative project environment, the urgency and specific constraints outlined in the scenario make it the most effective strategy. Okay, please pay attention. So whenever you see a question, go for collaboration, go for unanimous decision, go for consensus. But if it is not possible, do consider other option, even it is autocracy, right? Let's move to the next question. All right, so you're taking longer than 70 seconds. So also pay attention during the exam, right? Time management is very, very important. So 70, 75 seconds, that's the average time you should take. Anything longer than that is problematic. All right. So Richard, you have chosen option D.
As I read the question asked me how to address the situation effectively. And out of the 4 options, it was the only answer, even though I did not know what a Kaizen or a Deming's plan do, check, act, model continuously. But it does speak to improving the decision-making process. A, reviewing the team charter to clearly, that just is information. It doesn't improve the process. B, you can look for inefficiencies and pinpoint areas for improvement. I was on B a little bit. I was between B and D, but it does. I kind of went to D because D specifically says it. And then conduct a decision tree to analyze the pros and cons of various options, aiming to facilitate quicker decision. That's just information. Whereas I'm assuming the Kaizen loop the Kaizen loop, that's an actual method of getting a improved decision-making process.
All right. I prefer to start with Richard because regardless of the fact the answer is right and wrong, the way he explains all the options, that is really helpful. Thank you, Richard. Okay, so Mohan, you have also chosen option D.
Right. I kind of was in the same boat as just Richard just explained. but not as good as his explanation. I would say, I picked D because the team charter option A is specifically talking about roles and responsibilities, decision making within the team. So I eliminated A. B, value stream mapping to identify inefficiencies, decision making. I mean, value stream mapping is to me not to identify inefficiencies in the decision making process. It's more for business value and from that standpoint, right? C, conduct a decision tree analysis to analyze the pros and cons of various options, aiming to facilitate a quicker decision. Again, that is not the issue. We're trying to address and resolve the situation, which is decision making is not happening on time. So that's how I came to D. Again, I don't know what Deming's plan is, but Kaizen loop mostly is, where you continuously iterate and get feedback. So maybe that would be a better option to kind of understand what the issue is with the decision-making process and how can we fix it.
All right. Thank you. Manmeet, you have chosen option C.
Yes, because I don't know the Kaizen loop. I think that in the first line of the question it says decision making is slow because there's a delays in the stakeholders' opinions regarding the decision making. So option C seems quite the replica of what is mentioning in the question. They are slow and we need to make the decision making quicker. That's the only reason I picked C because decision tree analysis, I don't know the technical term for that, but yes, pros and cons can state in front of us and we can decide this is wrong and this is right and we can facilitate the quick decision making, which is actually the requirement of the answer of the question. That's why I picked the C. Just the knowledge I can gather from the English words, not the technical part.
All right. Thank you. Francis, you have chosen option B.
Yes, I've chosen option B. I think I went with elimination, but I was left with B and D. But after listening to what other people said, I think, stream mapping is more to do with the business values rather than decision making. I think that's why I'm not sure if that's the right answer.
All right.
And I wasn't too sure about Kaizen loop.
All right. So one observation based on your answers, it looks like you're completely relying on these sessions to pass the exam. You would not be able to pass the exam just by attending 1 hour session on Monday, Wednesday, and Friday, to be very honest, right? One student did that and she got 20% marks, right? When I asked her, did you read the book? She said no. I asked her, have you solved my mock exams, 1,500 or 2,000 questions? She said no. And when I saw her result, it was 20%. And I'm surprised to learn that we spend a lot of time in Kaizen loop. We talked about value stream mapping. We talked about decision tree analysis. I drew that decision tree, complete decision tree, did a lot of calculations, but still you don't understand that. That's really surprising for me, right? So this is not something that we haven't covered. This is not something that you don't know, right? If you want to pass the exam, this is basic terminologies. You should be aware of that. Without knowing that, you won't be able to pass the exam. Okay. Now let's discuss one by one in detail. So question is, decision-making process is slow. There is something wrong with the process. Okay. Process is slow. Whenever process is slow, first of all, we need to understand the process. We need to analyze the process, like what's wrong with the process. Once we understand that, then we move for any relevant action or improvement. So first option, review the team charter to clearly understand the decision-making authorities. authorities have nothing to do with the process, right? Decision-making process is slow. It doesn't say like certain individuals are not authorized, or people who are authorized, they are not relevant. So it has nothing to do with authority. So option A can be easily eliminated. Option D, Kaizen loop. If you recall, we talked about Kaizen loop. This is also Edward Deming's PDCA model. It says whenever you want to implement a change, follow a 4-step process. First, plan a change, right? After planning the change, then step number 2 is do, which is experimentation. Implement the change at small scale. Third, check. Check or study results of your experiment. If results are favorable, go with act. Implement the change at organization-wide. Otherwise, adjust. So this is PDCA or PDSA model. Whenever you want to improve a process, plan something. Instead of implementing the change at organization-wide, implement the change at small scale. So if you recall, we discussed the example. Let's suppose your HR efficiency, right? Your team efficiency is not up to the mark. You consider allowing them work from home or work from anywhere. So rather than implementing the change throughout the organization, you implement at the small scale, maybe in one section or in one department. That is do act. We call it experimentation. When you do experimentation, after some time, you study the result of experiment, check or study. If results are favorable, then you act. Act means implementing the change at organization. So this is more like how to implement change. What's the best practice to implement a change? Rather than implementing at the organization-wide, first do the experiment. So it underscores the importance of experimentation, right? It doesn't talk much about analyzing the situation, right? And it's continuous improvement. We continuously do that. But here, the problem is there is a specific situation. There is something wrong with decision-making process, what we need to do. So Kaizen loop is irrelevant here because it doesn't address the problem. Option D, conduct a decision tree analysis. Decision tree analysis is entirely different. It's a tool that we use to make decision under uncertainty. Make decision under uncertainty. And if you recall, we took the example of make or buy analysis, right? Make or buy analysis, and we use expected monetary value calculation. Remember that tree, make or buy. So you have one option, make, other option is buy. There are two possibilities here, 60% chances with some revenue, 40% chances with some revenue, right? So when monetary calculations are involved, when uncertainty is involved, right? And we want to see things visually, we go with decision tree analysis. Here, we're not talking about monetary terms. We're not talking about risk. We're not talking about uncertainty. So decision tree is irrelevant here. Last option, that is value stream mapping. Value stream mapping is a tool that we use to improve processes. So what we do in it, we lay down the process. We write down the flow chart, right? Or we make a process flow. So we say, okay, this is step number 1. After that, we do step number 2. Then we do step number 3. Then step number 4. So in any process, we have different steps. And then we see, okay, we divide these different steps in a process into 2 categories. Steps that really add value and steps that do not add value. So for example, we say this step do not add any value in the process, right? In the decision-making process. This is also not required. This is also not required. And now you come up with a new process that is step number 1, followed by step number 4, followed by step number 6. So now you have optimized your process. So for process optimization, you use value stream mapping. So in this question, the problem is with decision-making process. So first of all, you need to draw this flow chart to understand what's wrong, what are the steps that do not add any value that we can easily remove to make the process quicker and efficient. Correct answer is value stream mapping to identify inefficiencies in the decision-making process and pinpoint areas for improvement. So correct answer is option B. Let's read the explanation. All right, I hope it is clear, right? Let's move to the next question. All right, Mohan, you have chosen option B.
Yeah, I chose option B because I think if you read the question, a quality engineer, and this is the second sentence, quality engineer raises concern about a supplier's new faster sterilization process for a kikuma. While the process reduces production time, the engineer suspects it might compromise the component sterility assurance level, right? So this is the keyword here was suspect, that this was not a very sure shot. And that's why it chose B. A being analyze the trade-offs between speed and safety. Really, I don't think this would be the right choice because safety should be the number one concern. Again, PMIism, right? And C, approve the new process and prioritize meeting regulatory deadlines. Again, this is not meeting, this is essentially putting safety concerns which are suspected, right? And D, raise the concerns directly to regulatory agency and seek their guidance. Again, this is, getting it up to the stakeholder without even understanding what the issue is. So that's why I picked B.
All right, thank you. Francis, you have chosen option D.
Yes, I've chosen option D because in the question say further testing of the process would delay the project by ensuring the patient safety. So initially I thought about B, but when I saw this phrase, I realized, okay, so instead of testing because this is going to delay the project, why not just raise the concern direct to the regulatory agency and seek guidance, like the guidance from them?
So what would you expect from the agency? What would they say? I mean, if there is a regulatory requirement, right? You need to
Yes.
comply with that because it's a safety concern. It could harm patients. So what you can expect from regulatory agency in this regard?
Their device to see if it passes or if it can still be used because they have more expertise, regarding this the policy of
No, but
But this guideline.
it might compromise the components' sterility assurance level. Further testing of the process would delay the project but ensure patient safety, right?
Yes.
So how do you expect from the agency which has issued some regulations, they say, okay, you can, continue without following these regulations. So remember, whenever there are concerns regarding safety, right? That's the top priority, as Mohan mentioned, right? And whenever there are regulatory compliance, we take immediate actions. So we don't expect like there is a new regulation and let's talk to regulatory agency and we expect something else. They would say just follow the regulations because these are the new regulations and these are relevant to or directly impacting the patient safety. So safety is the top priority. And question says further testing would reduce the negative consequences or problem, right? So we will go with option B, authorize further testing of the process to ensure patient safety because that is the top priority. Discussing with regulatory agency would not give us any advantage because there are regulations and we have to comply with them, right? We can't compromise on that. We can't compromise on patient safety because if we go with this process, there are chances patient safety would be compromised. So just because we want to deliver the project earlier, we can't compromise on patient safety. So whenever there are questions regarding regulations, regarding safety, regarding environment, regarding human life, we don't compromise at all. This is a similar question to the first question that we discussed. Correct answer is option B. Let's read the explanation. All right, let's move to the next question. We will be a little quick. We are running short of time. All right, Francis, you have chosen option D.
Yes. So yeah, because we're talking about self-organized team, the option D makes sense to me. So you encourage your team's members to make decisions as they see fit by promoting the culture of autonomy without seeking specific guidelines and limitations.
All right, so since it's a self-organized team, correct answer is option D, right, according to you. Okay, thank you. Rahul, you have chosen option C.
Yeah, so firstly, A talks about urgency of the issues without considering specific expertise, kind of didn't make sense. Second is delegating, we don't really delegate. D talks about encourage team members to make decisions as they see fit, promoting a culture of autonomy without setting specific guidelines or limitations. So this gave me an indication which might cause some issues. If there are no limitations, like everyone would be, saying something or something else. So, yeah.
Right, that is correct. We don't give unfettered authority to the team, even if it is self-organized. Still, there are some limitations. They have authority, but there are certain things for which they need permission from the organization. For example, scope change, right? to what level they are authorized, what sort of changes they can make, right? About how much they need to charge to the client. So there are certain organizational standards, organizational policies. Otherwise, there is no need of senior management if we can give autonomy to team member without setting specific guidelines or limitations. Even the team is self-organized, we have specific guidelines. You are self-organized, you are an autonomous unit, but this is the authority level, right? So we don't do that. Correct answer, as Rahul mentioned, is option C. Clearly define the scope of authority. Whatever autonomy you want to give, clearly define it. You understand? Tell them, okay, this is your authority level. You're free to do whatever you want to do, but define it. Ensuring team member understand their decision-making boundaries and responsibilities. So C does not limit the authority. It says clearly define it, whatever the boundary is. Correct answer is option C, right? So D, the last line, the portion that I highlighted without setting specific guidelines or limitation, it doesn't make sense, right? And option B, we have already discussed. We don't delegate just because somebody is senior and just delegate that. No, we don't do that. And we delegate based on expertise. So option A is exactly opposite to that. Correct answer is option C. Let's read the explanation. All right, let's move to the next question. All right, Mohan, you have chosen option A.
So really, I was I kind of narrowed it down to A and C, and I did not pick C because this is basically a situation with other stakeholders to gain their support, but it doesn't talk about how to gain the support of the key stakeholder, which is not responding, right? So that's why I picked A.
All right, so you're saying option C is irrelevant. So you have chosen option A, okay? Manmeet, you have chosen option B.
Escalating is always the last option. That's why I did not go with the A. The reason why I chose B, because it is giving me the idea that what is the best action to go to keep the project moving. While C and D does give me the idea of gaining the support and engaging the stakeholder, but does not give me any idea of how to keep moving the project. So I just keep on making the decisions, but I would definitely document everything as a justification that they are not responding. The stakeholders are not responding. So that later, if they get engaged, I can tell them that I can show the document that I have given you the details. You were not responsive at the times, but I kept on making the decision. That's why I kept on making the project moving further. So that's why I did pick the option B.
By
C
the
and
way,
D does
who
not
are
give me
critical
the.
stakeholders, Manmeet?
Sorry.
Who are the critical stakeholders? Who are the key stakeholders in the project normally?
Uh,
It could
uh,
be client, it could be sponsor, it could be
yes.
government, right?
Yes.
It could be public, right? It could be regulatory agencies. So if they are not responding, that's not the right choice. We say, okay, since you were not responding, I made my decision. That's the job of project manager to engage with relevant stakeholders and to elicit information, to gather data and seek their input. So this is not an excuse if they are not being engaged. Maybe the way you are engaging with them is not according to their desired or preferred communication style, right? Or maybe there are other reasons they are not engaged or they're not responsive. So you need to find out the problem, like what's the issue? What's wrong with that? Why people are not responding? You understand? And do not do that while solving the mock exams or the real exam. Like you just say, okay, if somebody is not responding, just move on. No. Do every possible thing to engage with them. And without their engagement, you can't proceed with the project because their support is indispensable. You cannot proceed without client. So for example, if client is not responding to your request for a review meeting, it doesn't mean you say, we have developed since you were not responding. You can't move with that, right? You have to engage with the client because without their feedback, you can't develop the product. If sponsor is busy, sponsor is occupied, you're not able to get information, you can't move ahead. You have to engage with them. You have to get certain guidelines, some reference, right? So option B is incorrect. We don't do that. I hope it is clear.
Yeah.
Right. And yes, whatever you said, escalation is last resort. That is partially correct. And I think we have discussed a similar question in the previous sessions as well. Remember, sponsor is not a policing function in a project. Like if we have a complaint or if we have some negative comments about somebody or if there is a conflict, only then we reach out to the sponsor. No, you can reach out to the sponsor for guidance whenever you are stuck. Whenever you don't have authority to make decision, you can go and seek guidance. So sponsor is not just for complaints. Sponsor is not just for conflicts. Sponsor is also there for guidance, to get support. Whenever something is outside of your authority level, then you go to the sponsor and seek their input and seek their guidance. You understand? So question says, you are forced with the challenge of critical stakeholders not responding to important decision-making processes, despite numerous attempts. So you have made numerous attempts. Despite those attempts, you're not able to get the support from the stakeholders. Now, this is the situation. You can't move ahead without engaging with them. And you can't make decision without them and they're not responsive. So the best course of action is talk to the sponsor, seek their guidance. If sponsor says, okay, move ahead, then you can go with that, right? If sponsor says, okay, do that, or whatever the outcome based on your discussion. Correct answer is option A. All other options are incorrect. Option C, it's talk about other stakeholders. It doesn't address the problem as Mohan mentioned, so it is irrelevant. Circulate detailed summary of proposed decision to ensure all stakeholders are informed. This is a passive approach. You're not taking their information, you're informing them, right? So that is not the right solution. When key stakeholders are there, you need to involve them. You need to engage with them. So just circulating summaries would not solve the problem, right? If they're not responsive to your request, how would they respond to your summaries? Correct answer is talk to the sponsor, seek guidance on how to proceed, right? I have intentionally added this question because most of you have this impression like we should not escalate. Yes, we should not escalate issues until we have tried everything. If we have tried everything, then we should approach sponsor. We should seek guidance because sponsor is there to guide you. Okay, so correct answer is option A. Let's read the explanation. All right, let's move to the next question. All right, Francis, you have chosen option D. Why?
I have chosen option D because I think since we have analyzed like there's a bug, which is a critical bug, it's better to discuss with the sponsor and the test and everybody involved and the people with the expertise, so we can weigh the risk and the benefits of doing it around, you know, if without actually implementing the workarounds. So basically, like if we rush and release this software, it's not going to give not going to give like a good experience to the users. So therefore, it might not be effective. That's why I chose the.
What's
can
up with option B? Francis?
Yeah, the option B, we're not involving like a sponsor. We're more like involving developing
All right,
team.
we're not involving the sponsor. Okay. So why do you think like sponsors' involvement is important here?
Because they're responsible for the product. They have
They
to
are
know what's
responsible for the overall product, and this decision requires authorization from the sponsor. So that's your stance. Okay.
Yep.
Makes sense. Okay. Rahul, you have chosen option B.
Yeah, because option D talks about weighing the risks and benefits. But I think we already know in the question that I read it somewhere, one second, that it's a critical bug. We already know that, and it is compromising user experience. So the question already reads about, you know, the risk is we are compromising user experience if we, you know, if we
All right.
Yeah, if we rush. So
makes sense. Understand. So you're saying there's a bug, so we need to handle that. Okay. That is your okay. Right. Let me take one more comment. Richard, you have chosen option D.
So, like Rahul, I was in between. I was on B for a minute, but then I locked in on where it says potential solutions. Holding me for potential solutions for fixing the bug quickly. They could set a meeting and not have any solutions for fixing it quicker because they've already identified that it's going to take additional development time, which is already going to delay the product. Doesn't matter how fast they get it out. So I guess, I landed on D because it gets everybody in the room. The developers will be there. The testers will be there to talk about what they experienced. The sponsor will be there to overall help make the decision over whether whether we delay and we work on the bug and fix it, or we launch this because, day one patches are a thing. We launch and then we'll patch it. We'll patch the fix in. It happens all the time. So that's where I landed with option D, because it involves all your key stakeholders, and you'll sit down and make a informed risk, because you can sit there and the developers will say, well, this is how long we feel it takes to fix this bug. We don't think that there's any quicker way to do it. And then, like I said, it just involves everybody to make a well-informed decision about delaying for however long, or just launching as is with a workaround.
All right. So your stance is option D is more like team involvement and making informed decisions. So that's why option D. So see, the problem with option B is that, so what's the situation here in the question? Situation is either you will be delaying or you want to implement a workaround. You have two options: delay it or implement a workaround. But the problem with workaround, if you see, it says, and some suggest deploying a workaround solution that might compromise user experience. Right? That's the problem with the workaround, or quickly fixing the bug. Right? So first of all, you need to make a decision, like if you implement a workaround and it compromises user experience, are you ready for that? Is it okay? So you need to discuss this. Okay? So you need to discuss pros and cons of this option. Like on one hand, we are delivering the product earlier. On the other hand, we are compromising on user experience. If it is acceptable to sponsor, okay, we can go for it. However, if we don't want to compromise on user experience, then we need to delay the product release. And if we need to delay the product release, then we need to talk to the sponsor. So correct answer is option D. Discuss all the options, pros and cons of benefits, and talk to the sponsor and the team, where they sit together and discuss, as Richard mentioned, like this is the time we will be taking. These are the potential consequences of delay. So correct answer is option D, right? We cannot just implement workaround just because it's solving problem. It is also compromising user experience, right? So we need to make an informed decision. Correct answer is option D. Let's read the explanation. All right. So just give me a second. Before we go to question 10, we have Chinamis here, right? He has passed exam today, so I have invited him to discuss lessons learned. So right after this question, we will be discussing lessons learned with Chinamis. If you want to stay, you can stay. You can talk to him what strategy he used to pass the exam. Okay, that would be really helpful to you. Okay, question 10, please. All right, Garvita, you have chosen option B. Okay, Francis, you have chosen option D.
I've chosen option B because I went with his elimination. So I think area one of the question you analyze how decision tree analysis works, whereby you go with you take an option, then you analyze it. If it doesn't work, then you go to the next.
All right, when you have uncertainty and when you want to make decision by taking into consideration of monetary value, you use decision tree. So the question says you need a decision-making technique that employs a flowchart-like diagram to visually represent different investment options and their potential consequences, where each branch symbolizes a choice and each node donates a possible outcome. This is a simple and easy question. This is decision tree analysis. Okay. So decision tree is a branch-based structure. It's a visual representation of different choices and their implications. So correct answer is decision tree analysis. Weighted decision matrix is different. We use multiple criteria for this. That's not the option. So it's more like a spreadsheet or a table in a tabular form. Alternative analysis, it's a generic term, right? When we consider other options, that is alternative analysis. Cost benefit analysis, when we compare cost with the benefits. Let's read the explanation. All right, everybody. Thank you so much. I'm sure you have learned a lot from this lesson. This is a very important topic. If you are having trouble, not able to get the energy or commitment, right, you can schedule a one-on-one meeting with me. I'll try to motivate you, right? And as a lot of people are passing the exam, so you can also pass the exam. Just do it, right? Be confident, go through the process, follow the simple process, and then pass the exam. I will stop the recording here, then I will start again. If you want to stay, you can. We will be talking to Chinese. So let me just end the meeting here. Thank you so much for joining Q&A session. I'll see you next, I think Wednesday, with another interesting lesson.